A rafter is one of a series of sloped structural members that extend from the ridge or hip to the wall plate, downslope perimeter or eave, and that are designed to support the roof deck and its associated loads. A pair of rafters is a couple. Design: a type of beam that supports the roof of a building. In home construction, rafters are typically made of wood. Exposed rafters can be a feature of traditional roof styles. Applications: in recent buildings there is a preference for engineered trusses on the grounds of cost, economy of materials, off-site manufacture and ease of construction, as well as design considerations such as span limitation and roof load. Types of rafters in traditional timber framing: there are many names for rafters depending on their location, shape, or size. The earliest surviving roofs in Europe are of common rafters on a tie beam. This assembly is technically called a closed couple. Later principal rafters and common rafters were mixed, which is called a major-minor or primary-secondary roof system. Historically, many rafters, including hip rafters, often taper in height 1/5 to 1/6 of their width, the larger end at the foot. Architect George Woodward discusses the purpose of this in 1860. Only the same amount of strength can be had with a less amount of lumber. There is an additional labor in sawing such rafters, as well as a different calculation to be made in using up a log to the best advantage. It is necessary always to order this special bill of rafters direct from the mill, and the result will be that the extra cost will, 9 times out of 10, overbalance the amount saved. John Muller also discusses a 1/6 taper for rafters. Pieces added at the feet to create an overhang or change the roof pitch are called a sprocket or couleur in French. Rafter types include principal rafter, a larger rafter. Usually land directly on a tie beam. Usually the purpose of having a larger rafter is to carry a purlin which supports the rafters in each bay. Sometimes the top chord of a truss looks like a principal rafter. Principal rafters are sometimes simply called principals. Common rafter, being smaller than a principal rafter. A principal common rafter roof. Or double roof has both principals and commons. Auxiliary rafter, a secondary rafter below and supporting a principal rafter. A rare type of rafter. Compass rafter, a rafter curved or bowed on the top or both the top and bottom surfaces. Curb rafter, the upper rafters in a curb roof. Hip rafter, the rafter in the corners of a hip roof. The foot of a hip rafter lands on a dragon beam. King rafter, the longest rafter on the side of a hip roof in line with a ridge. Valley rafter, a rafter forming a valley. Intermediate rafter, a eon between principal or common rafters to strengthen a given placer. Jack rafter, cripple jack rafter, a shortened rafter such as landing on a hip rafter or interrupted by a dormer. Arched rafter, of segmental form in an arched roof. Knee rafter, a rafter with a bend typically a few feet from the foot used to gain attic space like adding a knee wall. Rare in America. Barge rafter, the outermost rafter on a gable end, sometimes forming a roof overhang. Butt rafter, a smaller rafter interrupted by and joined to a butt purlin. Common rafters pass over and are supported by a principal purlin, if present. A binding rafter is not a rafter but an obsolete name for a purlin or support. Part of a cruck frame may function as a rafter but they are called a cruck blade. See also, birdsmith joint, chantlate, fascia, joist, knee wall, lookout, purlin, rafter angle square, soffit, truss, timber framing, timber roof truss, wind brace. References